cabbage is like a good friend, comforting and always there when you need it. It's nutritious and serves as a key ingredient for many dishes. But with all the cabbage varieties out there, you may wonder how to use it in your favorite meal. We've got you covered today with some great recipes and a cook-along with our friend who's a rock star both in and out of the kitchen.
Hi, I'm Joe Kwon from the Avett brothers. I play cello. So I was born in Incheon, South Korea and immigrated to High Point, North Carolina in 1981. High Point is a very small town known for one thing and one thing only, and that's the international furniture market that happens twice a year. My parents, were not surrounded by a massive Korean community whatsoever. And they owned a dry cleaner, which was right on Main Street in downtown High Point, and were friends with a lot of these furniture designers because they would get their laundry done. It was super weird because we'd have these internationally known furniture designers come over to our house in High Point to have Korean food with my mom. I would love to make kimchi, but sad to say, I haven't learned how to make it yet for my mom. One of my favorite comfort foods is stuffed cabbage. We're going to be doing a grilled cabbage that has more of like a deconstructed cabbage roll feel to it, and then putting the ragu, what would normally be inside the cabbage roll with a tomato sauce on top. We've combined the meats, turned it into a sauce, grilling the cabbage, and then using that as kind of a sauce on top of the cabbage over a bed of rice.
So what have you done on your end? Let's talk about the cabbage.
Yeah, I went ahead and I quartered the cabbage and then cut those quarters in half again. So now I'm left with 8 wedges of cabbage. So I'm just gonna take my cabbage and throw them right over some embers. We've had them going for a couple hours now.
I'm ready to put mine on the grill, but I'm gonna confess right now, I was a little worried about turning them. I am using the grill basket where I have locked up my cabbage wedges, brushed them with a little bit of oil and hit them with some salt and pepper, and now I'm gonna put them on the grill.
So we're gonna just hit these with some heat until they wilt, and then
Exactly. You want a little wilt and a little bit of light char around the edges. My family was actually cabbage farmers for a number of generations. You're bound to have some cabbage memories too. If you grew up in a cabbage-intensive household, as many people did, what do you remember?
I grew up eating my mom's kimchi. She made kimchi, I'd say once every 2 weeks, and she would make about 100 pounds at a time. Crates of Napa cabbage that my mom would break down, salt, wilt, season, assemble, pack these huge 1-gallon jars of kimchi, and then give them to different families. It was like another extension of her cooking for people.
Now, I grew up my family making sauerkraut, malolactic fermentation, just salt, water, thyme. We had, like all families do that do great fermentation, there's science, then there's ritual, and then there's habit. Part of our ritual is that we would hold the shredded cabbage under the water with this rock, and I still to this day call it the magic pickling rock. And I don't know if that makes a difference, but I'm the 4th generation to have the rock. I'm not gonna say that the rock's not important. I'm now the keeper of the rock, and if they say put the rock on top, I'm in on it.
It's funny because my mom had a rock as well.
See, maybe we're on to something.
Yeah, look at that char on mine.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a good char. And I went ahead and made the ragu with I used turkey, but I have the ragu with tomato sauce, onions, turkey, a little bit of cinnamon, and salt. And brown sugar.
And some raisins of
and
all
raisins,
things.
that's right.
So where I got the idea for that, because I certainly my grandmother would never have put lemon or raisins in her filling or anything like that, but it reminds me of almost Middle Eastern and a little bit of Mediterranean flavors to have that warm spice and then that hit of that acidic lemon and the dill at the end. It just perks it up a little bit. And I too have made mine ahead. So the way I normally do it, but people can do it however they want, is to put a little rice and then some of the cabbage and then a little bit of that sauce on top. You mentioned you put turkey. I use turkey also, but I've also taken the cabbage cores, that a lot of people discard, but I actually think they're one of the best parts, and finally chop them with a bunch of mushrooms and make a meatless filling to go on top of this as a variation too.
All right, go, Sheri. What do you think?
Oh, look at that.
That's like a mountain.
Yeah.
Going in for the bite.
All right, you go first.
At first, I didn't know how the cinnamon was gonna play. Because when I first put it in, it was just way too prevalent. But after cooking it down, it's nice.
I love what this does to the cabbage. It's sweeter, and then you get that little char, and then the smoke, and the contrast to textures. You know, there's the crispy edges, and then the tender bark. I think that sometimes the way to make people fall back in love with a vegetable is to give it to them a way they've never had it, so that they have to pay attention. And doing this, you know, grilling or just changing it some way makes people pay attention to cabbage. There's a lot of charm in this.
For sure. That's delicious.
And I look forward to the day we're sitting at the same table again.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.